If you're wanting to be a YouTuber, then getting to 1,000 subscribers super fast is probably something that you want to do. Number one, having 1,000 subscribers looks nice. Number two, that's around the number you'll need to actually get monetized. Now, they did just recently lower the monetization requirements, but the watch time requirements aren't super low, and so most people are probably going to hit around that 1,000 subscribers to be monetized anyway. And having 1,000 subscribers on YouTube is really freaking cool. Think about if you had 1,000 people sitting in front of you right now. It's a lot of people. So if you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I want my first 1,000 subscribers super freaking fast, let me present you with the ultimate beginner's guide to YouTube and how to get those 1,000 subscribers super freaking fast. Hello and welcome back to the Hey Jessica channel. I am pumped that you are here. We are continuing our journey in introducing our contributors, and this lady is one of my favorites, like literally one of my favorites. She's so freaking knowledgeable, she's so freaking fun, and I was so excited when she said yes to my proposal to be a contributor here on the channel. Diana Gladney is gonna be our resident YouTube expert. Like, why not? She's amazing. She knows all the ins and the outs of YouTube and like the strategy and everything that goes into it, and I am so excited that she is taking the time out of her schedule to contribute here on this channel and to teach y'all more about YouTube. Diana, of course, has her own YouTube channel, so we will make sure we link everything below to her and all the other contributors, by the way. But let's just get into Diana telling you how to get these 1,000 subscribers fast, because you're gonna have your socks knocked off.
Well, hey there to the Hey Jessica family. I'm so pumped that Jessica invited me to come over to her channel, and I'm so pumped to be sharing with you how to get your first 1,000 subscribers, giving you that ultimate guide. So let's dive in. Now, there's a ton of different ways that you can get into getting your 1,000 subscribers, and honestly, some people get there on accident. But if you're like me and anybody else in the world, it usually is going to require some work, some refinement, and some other stuff. So we're gonna break this down into 3 different ways: the planning, the production, and then the posting. Usually you'll hear this maybe described on YouTube a little bit different, but I want to keep things a little bit more plain English so it's easier to get into stuff and understand what to do and where to go. So you don't have to be tech savvy or any of that extra other stuff. You're going to be well served here. So planning is all about the pre-work. This is the stuff that you're going to do before you get ready to sit down and record. Most people kind of make the mistake of they set time aside for them to record content, and then they decide like a little bit before, it's like, oh, I should probably plan out what I'm going to say or how I'm going to do it. Or they just completely wing it, wind up going on some just long talk of who knows what's happening in the video at that point. And then you get through it and it's either hard for you to edit or hard for you to send it to a video editor. Ends up not doing as well as you may hope, and it just kind of falls flat. And we don't want that for you over here. So we're going to help you get through this phase. Depending on how long you've been on YouTube, you may have already heard the phrase of your niche or your ideal target audience. And I'm going to be using that language throughout the course of this video. So don't be put off by that, but it's just really understand who are we helping and how are we serving them. When we understand who we're serving first, then we can really start to dive into how to best create a video that's going to well serve them. Because if not, or we're just making it for anybody or everybody, we end up serving no one. And we want to refine and get niched down and understand exactly who we're talking to. No different than, you know, my name is Diana and I know your name is whatever it shows up as in the comment section, but as if we're talking to each other one-to-one. No different than if you message one of us on Instagram and we're having a conversation. And that's really how we want to approach our videos, is talking to that one other person, but specifically our ideal target audience. So what if you don't know who your ideal target audience is, or who your videos are best serving, or who's most interested in it? I want you to think about this phrase: who are you helping with what specifically? If you can answer that, then you can start to cultivate and start to learn more about this person, more about this audience. And this is a concept that grows. You don't have to have it up to 100% already. You just need to understand, who am I helping with what specifically? And there's a couple examples that I'm going to be using throughout this one, but we'll pretty much stick with one ideal target audience as the example so it's easier to track along. So let me give you 2 examples of what this could look like. Busy moms looking to build an extra $5,000 per month part-time, or it could be new homeowners looking to DIY design their new property to make it a home that they love. Now, both of these ideal target audience communities are completely different, but both of them kind of at home. But if we're just making a at-home channel, maybe too generic. And sometimes when you're trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, that is usually sometimes what it is. You're all over the place and it's not really aligning or identifying with anybody. And so it kind of sometimes is on point for someone and sometimes it isn't, and they just feel lost. And so they just bow out and go someplace else. And that's not what we want. So if you understand the who are we helping with what specifically, like in those two examples I just gave, then we can really start to understand why someone would come back to this channel, why they would subscribe and be interested in future content. So based on your ideal target audience, if you can't really figure out the who are you helping with what specifically, see about answering this particular phrase. I help, and then insert the type of person to, and then insert the kind of niche or what the problem is that you would be helping them to solve. So in our previous example, it may be I help stay-at-home moms, or I help busy moms learn to make extra money on the side. And it could be that simple. Now, remember, this can grow as you grow, and it can be refined as your channel grows. You don't have to have all of the answers, but we at least want to know what lane we should be heading down, who we're talking to, what kind of person that they are. So when we get into the further aspects of research, we know how we can really help them. So let's come up with some video topic ideas for this ideal target audience. Now, I want you to write, now probably not in the course of this video because we don't have time for all of that right now, but take 90 seconds and I want you to write without ceasing. What are some of the commonly asked questions that you answer every single week around this specific thing? It doesn't even matter if you don't have a YouTube channel yet. Usually when you have an interest around something, people in your family are asking you about it, friends are asking you about it, or whenever it comes up, other people reach out to you, could be on social media, and they ask you more questions about it. So think about commonly asked questions or even frequently asked questions that are generally asked around in this specific niche. So for me, I help busy entrepreneurs simplify their video creation process. So a really easy top of the mind question is just all the time, what camera should I buy for YouTube? Or what camera should I buy for insert how they plan to create content? So it could be vlogging, it could be camping, it could be videos like this that they're making at home. Really just take 90 seconds. Like I said, a little bit outside this video because we ain't got time for all of that, but take 90 seconds and write without ceasing. Frequently ask questions and just keep going. Don't pause, don't stop, put your phone away. Just do that for 90 seconds straight. And what you'll find is that the more you get those outside of those topical ideas, you start getting layers deeper into sometimes the pains, the problems, the questions, the frustrations that your ideal target audience or viewer would want to see on a channel that would have over 1,000 subscribers. Now that you have those ideas, I want you to take another set of 90 seconds and I want you to write without ceasing, what are some of the things that piss your audience off? What is something that stresses them out? And usually you'll commonly hear this thrown around as something that keeps them up at night, but it's really not always that only. It could be the thing that they cannot figure out for the life of them. And it may be something simple to you, and don't discount any idea. That's why I said write without ceasing. Take that 90-second break and just write without stopping at all and figure out what are some of the things that are really stressing them out, frustrating them, or holding them up. Now that you have these two sets of ideas, I want you just to pick 3 or 4 topics that really stand out to you that you're super excited or would be excited to create content around. And then I want you to pick those that are also going to be something that your ideal target audience, your ideal viewer, person that would love to subscribe to a channel like you're going to be creating or already in the process of creating, would be super attracted to watching that video all the way through and just would like, they can't wait. They're like, oh yes, I've been waiting for a video like that. You only want to pick 3 or 4. If you're like, I got 8, no, 3 or 4, that's it. You know why? Because when you start to pick too many things, all you're going to do is either send yourself into decision fatigue and then you get stressed out trying to figure out which one to do first, or you get into an analysis paralysis and then you just keep, well, I need to figure some more out. I need to, no. Pause for the cause. 3 to 4, okay, follow instructions. Okay, we trying to get you someplace out here in these real and digital streets. 3 to 4, and that's it. Because we can come back to that list later. Nothing's ever lost when the ideas, you've already captured them. Let's move forward with these 3 to 4 video ideas. Now, these are things that you're excited to talk about and they're excited to watch. It's a win-win, but we don't want to just now, okay, now let's just start recording. Pause. We want to pause for the cause because we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's where a lot of people mess up. and they just figure, oh, I know it's a great idea, but is it really though? Is it something that that ideal target audience member that you know for a fact would be interested in, or do we just think that they would be? Because a lot of times when you're in that expert seat, you're the Yoda, you're thinking like, oh, I know this is a problem, but it's like, maybe it is, but it's not right now. So we want to figure out what is their right now pain points, what are their right now problems, and things that are top of mind. So think back to 2020. What was everybody trying to figure out? How to live stream, how to get online, how to figure all the social media stuff out if they weren't already doing it. So all of a sudden, you had a bunch of people trying to figure out tools, tips, and strategies. Now, if I talked about how to organize your closet, yeah, that might be interesting, but not right now. Maybe it's a complete overhaul of the house and to get rid of clutter when you are maybe kind of depressed or not feeling great if things aren't going on in your life. So we want to be a good doctor and keep our hand on the pulse of our people. Now you want to take your 3 to 4 video ideas and we need to go layers deeper. Now to vet our ideas, we want to start thinking about it from the perspective of the person that is on the keyboard, not us that's researching and knowing all the stuff and like, oh, we could go on for 88. No, we're not doing all that. So calm down, pause for the cause. We just need to vet these ideas a little bit more and get more details as we get more into the researching of it. Now, I want you to think about how you wrote these down. I had you to write without ceasing, and you wrote it down exactly as you're thinking about it. Maybe not from the perspective of how somebody may type that in the midst of their crisis, in the midst of them being frustrated, when they don't know exactly what their problem is called, but they know they want X. So in my space, for example, when I'm dealing cameras and video and YouTube and stuff, people will say, how do I get a blurry background? They have no idea that that's called a shallow depth of field or that it's known as bokeh or bokeh. They don't even know those words exist, but they know the background is blurry. How do I do that like how it is in Zoom? That's all that they know. So when I'm thinking of my idea, now I want to kind of go over to YouTube and I want to just start to understand the language and at least make sure I have that right. Because if I don't, it's okay. We're just making refinements. And so don't ever think about things as right or wrong or black and white. It's really just about refining it when you don't quite nail it so much. But when we go over to YouTube, take that root phrase or how they may say it or even how you've said it. Don't hit enter, but just start typing that thing in and you'll start to get that YouTube prediction engine starting to go to work for you. Now, this is key because when you start typing it in, YouTube is going to finish it for you. And it may not be how you would finish it, or you say, well, that's not right. It needs to be bokeh. It needs to be shallow depth of field. They don't even know what that means. That's okay. We can teach them later on in the video somewhere, but not right now. We need to approach this of how they want it. It's like going to a doctor and you say, this hurts right here. What is this right here on my finger? And they give you some super technical term other than knuckle that you've never heard of. But that's fine. They're like, well, this phalanges is okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Dave. Here's what I need you to do. Fix this right here. That's how we want to approach our videos. Now, before you go over to your regular browser, I want you to open an incognito window. This is going to be the ones where you don't have anything signed in. It's not familiar with your search history because we don't want that impacting what results we get. We really want to come at this from somebody that is just right now dealing with this issue or having this concern or question or interest, and they're going to YouTube. Your YouTube search history will impact the results that you get and sometimes suggestions. And if you've already kind of been researching stuff and you're all into whatever it is that you make content around, it's going to impact it. So go to incognito. And again, just start with the root phrase. So what I did for an example for here is just busy mom. If I'm thinking like I help busy moms earn extra money in their side income, well, I don't want to put all of that in there. I just want to start with a busy mom. What's something that she's dealing with? Now, if you notice, YouTube has given us a ton of more ideas that maybe we never even wrote down earlier. And that's great. Take a screen capture of it, but let's stay focused. Which one of these is more aligned to what we're talking about? Or is there something else that stands out and it's like, ooh, maybe pause the idea that I initially had because this other thing is coming up within maybe the first 1 to 3 suggestions that's really in alignment. So we also see things like busy mom scheduling tips. And it's like, that would make sense. She's trying to make money. She's having issues with scheduling. We'll dive into that a little bit later, but just remember kind of that little bit of a connection. But take a screenshot on what you see. When you find that thing and you just kind of type a little slow, and then you hit enter. Now let's start to analyze some of the videos that we're seeing. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is the language shift that's likely to happen from where you think your content is and how you should approach this to how they identify themselves. So we may say busy moms, and they may say stay-at-home moms. Totally different thing. Now, again, it may not be that big of a deal, and YouTube does understand the relation between these two, but we want to remove as many barriers between us and our ideal target audience and being able to serve them. So when you find out that they identify as something else, go ahead and go with that other phrasing, because that is what they're going to search and that's how they're going to talk. Even if it's incorrect for like your industry or your niche or professionally, let it be wrong right now. That's fine. We can talk about that in the video later and educate them. But right now, we don't need to do that. We need to reach them most. Now, pause for the cause again, because this is where a lot of creators start to feel just overwhelmed. You start looking at other people's videos and you're like, how am I going to compete? Or like some emails I get from clients and they're like, oh, my video is better than theirs. Why isn't it doing this? Like, pause for the cause. Don't get lost in the sauce. Really focus on why we're doing this. You need to make sure also, it's just being real. Be in a strong state of mind when you start to do this kind of research. Because if you're already feeling down and you're looking at how other people's videos are and you're like, why can't my stuff do this? Again, pause for the cause. We're in the process of serving our ideal target audience, so keep that top of mind, okay? And when you go over into this YouTube video, maybe pause it initially, and let's just go in the comment section. We want to get market research exactly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. What are our girls or our guys or our people, what are they saying and how are they saying it? We want to pay attention to comments that got a lot of thumbs up, things that people are really resonating with, examples that they give, and phrases that they use that we may not have considered. Now, I recommend keeping a running like Google Doc or something so you can see all the stuff. And again, think of yourself like a good doctor. When you go to the doctor, they have your charts, they have your files, they have your history. Even if you switch from one facility to the next or one doctor to the next, your history comes with you. So same rules apply here. We want to start drafting, and the more we find out about our ideal target audience, putting it over in their files, like they call themselves this. They're dealing with these kind of stressors. They're having these kind of issues, and on and on. Starting to make sense? So this is how you go layers deep. And pro tip, if you are not taking screenshots of even some of these comments, make sure you do that. Again, start putting a file together. But I really want you to pay attention to the examples that they give. How are they dealing with situations? What are they running into? And again, when you see comments that are starting a thread and people are talking, or you are seeing where a lot of people thumbs up one particular comment, that means people are resonating with it. Other people are in that like, me too, girl. I'm having the same issue, or my kids are getting on my nerves. I'm ready to give them some Z-Coil or so, like that's kind of stuff is resonating with them. Those are the kind of things that we want to pay attention to, because those are great examples for us to use in our future video. So for example, let's take a look at a real comment based on some of the research that we're doing and what this one particular lady said that is really resonating with other people in your ideal target audience or your growing community. I just found your channel a couple of months ago and I love it. I just wanted to say thank you for this video and the ideas. I'm a mom who went from homeschooling our boys to working outside from the home part-time to pay for private schooling. I have been struggling with working for years, for a while now, and this video just encourages me to keep looking for ways to work for myself. Blessings from North Carolina. That is such a powerful comment, because it's not just somebody saying thank you or appreciate it. They really took some effort and they are talking. Pro tip real quick, reply to all your comments. I don't care how new or old your channel is. Do your best at least to start replying to comments, because this is gold, liquid gold. When somebody's giving you a lot of energy and they're like, dang, this is like, it's resonating. I'll talk about why it's even more important a little bit later in this video. But when you see stuff like this, take note of it, because she talked about and mentioned a lot of different points and pain points and issues that we can bring up, we can address, and we can use as examples moving into our video. So let's move over into production. So recording videos on YouTube stresses a lot of people out, and it's super frustrating for them to just do this. It seems easy when you're watching it, but then when you get your camera set up, you're like, I can't get it to look like that. I can't get it to sound like that. Like, what is happening? Again, pause for the cause. Don't get lost in the sauce. I want you to be okay with being in the process of progressively improving. And if something is wrong in your videos, whether it be technical or whatever, again, feel free to ask questions, but at the same time, don't get lost in the sauce, and just focus on improving one thing. I will always start with audio first, for sure, but I want to give you some tips just outside of technical stuff. But I know that's one of the things that holds a lot of people back, and they feel like, well, my channel isn't growing because it doesn't look like everybody else's. And I promise you, there are people that are using webcams and just like budget-friendly microphones on Amazon, and they're crushing it. So it's not all about the tech. So here's some of the ways that can really help you. Keep it short. More than any new camera or any new microphone would be, and make an improvement on your videos potentially, keep it short and keep it simple. You do not need to make a 45-minute video for you to have something that really resonates and does a good job. One main point for the video, and that's it. Keep it short and keep it simple. Simple serves. So you don't need to make some 15, 20-minute video. Just think 5 minutes or less. That's our goal. Now, the way structurally you can kind of work this out is very simple. And again, it's just one main title, one main topic, and then one maybe sub bullet point, maybe one example or whatever is relevant. But I like to use this acronym I came up with. It's called HICN, HICC-N. Sounds a little country, but so am I. But I just want you to understand it's very simple. It's the hook, the intro, the core content, and then you have a call to action. Or you can do the next logical question. And it's a either or on that. It doesn't have to be a both. So just hook, intro, the core content. Then you can have a call to action or their next logical question, which is what I like to use a lot in my business. So here's how simply this breaks down. The hook is really to capture their attention. You want within the first 18 to 15 seconds, if not less, to already be getting to the point. A lot of creators run into the issue where you see this big nosedive in your audience retention because as soon as somebody clicked, your thumbnail, title, all that stuff was great. You came up maybe in search or whatever, but they're watching your stuff, and then it's 3 minutes before you're into why they actually clicked. We do not want to do that. And if you've been doing that, time to make some refinements. So the hook is really to hook them, bring them in and hold their attention, but they're not caught yet. The intro, sometimes it may or may not be relevant. You don't need to go through, here's my title, how long it's been since I graduated high school and college. I got this. Nobody cares. It's the hardest thing to hear, but nobody cares. And that is okay. What you want to understand is like that kind of stuff maybe can come up in a lower third. That kind of stuff can maybe be in a description or the about section on YouTube. And if they care to see or go to your website or something, they'll find all that stuff out. People will research you just fine. They even use ChatGPT to find out more about you. So you don't need to do all that stuff and front load the video with things that the audience doesn't care about. So the intro is more about letting that person know if they're in the right place or not of what you plan to cover in that video. Core content is you doing your thing, you're giving them the goods, and then the call to action is either telling them to get your free thing, get on your email list, or something like the next logical question that leads them into the next video and what's important. So just think of it in that way. It's a very easy way to approach videos, even that are more in depth. If you're paying attention, you're gonna do that same thing in this video, and I do that in my other ones as well. So remember, we did all that research a little bit ago, and we have understand like the feelings and the frustrations. We've even garnered some examples based on things that people have been pasting in other people's comments on YouTube videos that are really relevant and about this specific topic. Now we want to start crafting an intro that really speaks to this person and lets them know that they're in the right place. We get them in that how we're going to help them. So here's what this can look like. I've been able to make an extra $2 grand every 2 weeks with no degree as a stay-at-home mom because I made one change that took me from being stressed and time impoverished, having to do everything homeschooling wise to be able to afford private school for my kids. So in this video, I'm going to dive into how I've been able to do that and make that change so you can do the same. Now, you see how that intro takes all of those little things, just little snippets. I talked about being time impoverished. That's a statement that moms commonly share in the homeschool and just stay-at-home mom space. I also talked about making money and how often, because those are things they care about. They don't want to make $300 and it takes them a year to do that. So it's like, yeah, I've been able to do this like every 10 days. I'm getting almost $2 grand, a little bit more, 2,500 bucks or whatever, every 2 weeks. Also speaks to maybe what our thumbnail and title is about, which we'll dive into in a little bit. But you see how this kind of brings everything together, and I'm talking about how I can help serve them. It makes sense. So that's just like the hook and intro kind of blended a little bit together to let them know they're in the right place. Here's some of the things that we're going to cover, and now we can move on into the real video. Now, a lot of people will take way too long to get to the main core content, 8 to 15 seconds, guys. Like, seriously, like at the most, the first 30 seconds or less, because that is what YouTube quantifies as the intro. But people's attention spans is way less than that. And they're not giving you that much time to get to the point, because you have to remember, they're in the midst of whatever crisis, issue, or concern, and they just want to know, do you understand what I'm trying to do or not? Can you help me? I don't even know if you're going to. So you have to sell them on the answer being yes. That's the biggest thing here. The answer is yes. So it's a ton more I could dive into when it comes into the content strategies and all the rest of that. And we really don't have time for every little thing. However, I do want to move over into posting, which is this next phase, and some things to watch out for, especially if you're already creating content. And a sweet spot that you really need to pay attention to if you already maybe posted a video or something that's really going to help you go ahead and get over that 1,000 subscriber hump. So then when it comes to the posting phase, usually creators that are trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber threshold, they're trying to break that ceiling. Maybe you're already having like maybe 50, 75, or 100 subscribers, and maybe you're between that 100 subscriber to 300 subscriber mark. And that is a really important section to be in your growth. Now, first of all, let's not get it twisted. 100 or 300 people, like, don't say I only have was like, no, let all that go. 100 people, like, imagine you're giving a talk, 100 people are in a room, or 200, even 75 people. That's a big deal. That's a lot of people. So don't discount what you're doing already and how many people you have growing. Even 30 or 50 people, that's a lot. And I'm not just saying that, like, it really is a lot of people. So keep that into proper perspective. Now, when you're trying to break that 1,000 subscriber threshold, sometimes that's coming from making a few mistakes, and I want to cover some of those. So if you're making them, it's time to make some refinements. And first of that is stop doing 3-minute thumbnails. And I get it. Sometimes those work, or it doesn't take a lot, or you see other videos that don't do as much work and they're getting a lot of attention. That's not us. It requires work. And sometimes one person's 1 in a million worked video that they don't put a really good thumbnail on works. We got to do the work. We cannot just shortchange it. So stop doing 3-second thumbnails. You need to put in the effort into understanding why somebody would click and understanding thumbnail theory. And this means, why would somebody click? What's of interest to them in relation to the title to get them even to begin watching your videos? Now, usually when I'm doing any kind of channel reviews, when I'm working with clients and whatnot, what I usually see is that there's a few mistakes, like the text is too small or it's too thin and fine, and it's hard to read. Now, if you're on a computer and you're looking at it, that's different if you're on mobile. Because if you're on mobile, let alone wear glasses, you may not be able to read any of that. The other thing may be not having enough contrast. And again, just making it easy for people to see the thumbnail, read, and understand what it is without having to spend too much time on it. You have like seconds for people to see it, decide if they want to click on it, or if one of the other surrounding thumbnails is of more interest to them. So if you don't have good contrast, that may be a like white background or like kind of like pink and orange kind of here, but then I put pink and orange text in the corner. It's hard for people to see that. Same thing with like white text or what have you. So that's why you see sometimes it may be a black background and white text, or vice versa, or something where it's easy to see what it is. And I get it's like sometimes pretty fonts look pretty, but they're not functional. And so you want to kind of find a medium between it. And also another one is you're putting the entire title on the thumbnail. Now I get it. Sometimes this is okay. Most of the time it's kind of annoying. And again, not to me, not to just maybe you, but to the ideal viewer. They already see the title. Reading it again on the thumbnail is not helping them. We want to think about the emotion and some of the research that we pulled from like comments. What are some of the things that make sense to put on the thumbnail that is the first thing that they're going to see? And then they're going to look at the title, and then they're going to start analyzing how long this video is and if it's worth my time or not. So you have to think about thumbnail theory in the sense of the first thing that's getting their attention and how quickly they look at all this stuff. And are they either you're clickable, or I like to say scroll pastable, where they're just going to scroll past you and go on to the next one. So if we're talking about the making money for as stay-at-home moms, then it could be $2,500 in 10 days or less. Now that makes more sense even if the title is something like how to earn over $5,000 part-time as a stay-at-home mom. I don't need to put all of that up on the thumbnail again. So I just need to understand what's something that would really resonate with the person that would click on the thumbnail. Another one is being too wordy. Like it literally is taking up almost all of the character and it's just super duper long, but it's really not saying anything. Now, the way that you can start to get better at this just naturally, go and look and research something that you're genuinely interested in. So if I typed in a search, feeding baby chickens, maybe I want to start raising chickens at home or something like that. Now, if I'm just typing that in, what's something that's appealing to me? What's something that captures my interest versus some of the others that I'm seeing? And I'm just like, that doesn't speak to me. That's not what I'm looking for. Because the one that I'm going to click is the one I think, as the person on the keyboard, the one that's going to best serve my curiosity, my interest, my intrigue, or whatever problem that I'm dealing with. So I'm looking for the one that has a thumbnail, talks about maybe how easy and simple it is, and it's simple and done. It's like, great, that one looks like it'll do, and I'm willing to invest maybe 20 minutes into it if it literally has everything that I need. So let's go for it. Same rules apply for you. So think about it in that kind of relation when it comes to your content. Don't be so married to, like, I did the best that I could. That's okay. We can always make refinements. And here's another reason when it comes to posting that a lot of people may not see the traction that they want to, and it's you're changing subjects all the time, or every other video is something different. And I get it. You see variety channels out there, or maybe even vlog channels out there, and they're doing whatever they want, making a ton of money. And you're like, I'm going to do that too. Well, I would venture to say it doesn't always work like that. It's other mitigating factors there. Usually, if it's some kind of personality or interest based thing, that person may be very charismatic and it's based on the person or their interest, or it could be they're bringing an audience from someplace else. It just depends sometimes. But if you're trying to build a business or you're doing this as a side hustle or whatever, the reason why niche is usually the thing, because it helps you really focus in on who are you helping with what specifically. So it's an easy yes or no when people see a video, they watch it, they get value, they decide this is something I want to say yes to, or I've been waiting and looking for a channel like this, or this answers all my questions on feeding chickens, or being a stay-at-home mom, or homeschooling, or whatever it is. So that's why it makes it easier to grow your account when you're at a place of knowing this is who I serve and this is who I help, and being okay with saying this is who I do not. If you're constantly flip-flopping and one day you're doing this kind of content, another day something else, that's not really going to help you to grow as fast as you want to. So let's talk about after you've published your video, or maybe you got a few under your belt, because you do want to wait until you have anywhere from like 3, 4, maybe even 10 videos before we really start to pay attention to analytics, because it's a lot of other stuff going to work for you. Like, are we making our audio sound as good as it could? Are we doing a better job at being an on-camera presentation with what we're talking about instead of reading a teleprompter like a zombie sometimes? Like, you want to bring you to the camera. That's it. Imagine you're talking to one person and do your thing. So we need a few videos under our belt to really have enough data to take over and look into the analytics on YouTube, which I do encourage that you do, no matter how new you are to the platform or how long you've been doing videos. And again, it's not to say that you suck or you don't. It's just to understand how our audience is communicating with our content and just have that conversation via the analytics. And so we need to refine some stuff. It doesn't mean you suck. So one of the first things that I like to look at when you publish a video is maybe after an hour or so is, how is the thumbnail performing? Because this is the first real introduction between us and the video, and that first point of interaction. We published a video. People that maybe are already subscribed see it, and people that are new now have a choice to make about our videos, if it comes up in search, or if they're seeing it around other stuff, and would they want to click on it or not. And you'll see this phrase is like impressions click-through rate or click-through rate. This is basically saying that somebody saw it and they chose to click on it to click through to watch the video, or they chose not to. And if we're seeing a couple things, this will let us know which direction we maybe need to make some changes. Now, if we see that people aren't really clicking on it as much as people are seeing it, and there's a bit of that that's normal, like it's normal. But if we notice that we're getting a lot of watch time, people actually watch 60, 70, 80% of the video, then it's like, okay, when they do click, they actually watch it. So let's improve the thumbnail so we get more people to click, because that means the content is good. But if we see that a lot of people click on it because the thumbnail's good and the title and all this stuff is attractive to them, but then they don't watch a whole lot of the video, they either skip around a lot and they take a nosedive and they just leave, then we know we have a content issue. Thumbnail title is good, content not so much. So what do you do in that example? A lot of people like to delete or unlist videos, and there's a space for that. A lot of times it's just work on it in the next video and keep moving forward. And then it could be in a couple months, or it could be sometimes in a few weeks or a year later, remake that video, but just keep moving forward. Don't get stuck and lost in the sauce when one video doesn't do well. Just keep moving forward. You got to stay encouraged. The next thing that I want to check is, how are the comments? Are we even getting any? Because there's something that I like to call in my business, it's like the hierarchy of engagement scale, which is how are people engaging with our content? And we have a scale, a true scale, so that we can see. Because first they need to click on the thumbnail. Then they actually need to watch the video. So are we getting the clicks, and are they watching the video? Then I want to see if they actually hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, because now we've moved them to some form of an emotion to say, appreciate it, or this sucks, at least from their perspective, or something was missing or didn't quite hit the mark. And either way, it's fine. We just want to see, are we getting that? Then we see comments where people have gone through all those previous steps to get to the point to leave a comment. Now, based on this, we can start to see if we're seeing a lot of comments initially, it's like, great. People are quickly going through this scale. People are quickly going through the content enough to leave comments, which is great. And then we have what I like to call the Bee's Knees Hall of Fame, where they're sharing it, they're tagging you in it. And you have people that are subscribing based on the video, because that's all the way at the end where they're like, this is so valuable. I want to share it with my audience, my community, or I want to publicly over on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, or Threads or whatever, something else. They can even tag you on YouTube and say thanks or appreciate it, whatever. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Now, when you're in the YouTube studio, again, really make sure when you go into doing this emotionally, you're together, because you're already having a bad day. Don't go check comments. Just don't do it. Save yourself a little hell on the back that you don't need to do all that. All right. The other thing is, make sure you're in a strong mental state. So listen to some good music or something and just kind of get yourself geared up and ready to look at the analytics, because it's just a conversation of how your audience is responding to stuff or not. Again, get rid of that mindset of you suck or not or whatever like that. There's a couple other analytics that I want to make you aware of as you're growing your channel, and that is paying attention to new and returning viewers, as well as making sure that you're understanding, again, are people clicking through to watch the video, or maybe sometimes are they not? And then the other really important metric, I kind of mentioned it before, which is audience retention. If you click on the audience tab over there, you'll be able to see under that video just how people are responding to it and how they're actually watching it. Are they only watching 10% of the video? Are they watching 20, 30, 40, 50%? I like to reach for at least bare minimum 50% or better. Honestly, I really want that graph to kind of be up there and then run right into the end of the video, because that means that we kept them going. They weren't bouncing around. They were like, yes, 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 give me more, give me more. Now, when you see that big nosedive immediately, we need to have some refinement moments here and really learn to fix some stuff. What's happening in the first part of that video during that section that makes them leave? Are we just kind of rambling, or are we getting into core content? Did we say the video is going to be about one thing on the title and thumbnail, but then when they click, they see it's actually something else? Stuff like that is a great way to understand how people are responding. Then you have the new and returning viewers that lets you know if somebody is new coming to your channel when they saw that, or if they maybe watched something else, maybe didn't subscribe or what have you, but they came back when you published that video. Those kinds of metric, and if you look at this like a conversation with your content and your audience, between you and them, you can kind of see like, okay, so like I said earlier, I gave you the examples of how to know if you have a content issue or a thumbnail issue. Now you can see like, well, people came on this other video, it got a lot of new viewers. We didn't really get a lot of subscribers on that video, but on this one we did, because they just weren't sure. Are you only going to talk about this once, or is this what you always talk about? Do I know you're constantly going to help me and serve me in this particular area? And then sometimes it's understanding that that video is a one and done kind of thing. They'll watch it, maybe won't engage with it. They'll be like, thanks, appreciate it, and move on. That's like every year when I need to change the windshield wiper blades on my car. I'm not interested in cars or auto mechanics or none of that. I just need to figure this one problem out, and then I'm out. Maybe they get that affiliate income or whatever, but that's pretty much it. But people that are trying to fix their own car, they're rebuilding their engines and all this extra other stuff, they're going to subscribe because they get more value out of it. So it's also to understand what position your video idea is playing after you've posted it in the audience's mind and who it's attracting or not. Because again, it just is about refining and just further lasering down and focusing in to make sure that you make content that's attractive to them and get you over that 1,000 subscriber threshold. When you do this, you really take all of these things into an account. This is what grows you over that 1,000 subscriber. Because once you get to 100 to 300 people, that's the sweet spot. Just lean in, dig in, don't get distracted. Really focus in on making sure that you're following people like Jessica, that you're paying attention to the advice that she's giving, because that stuff is gold. And you need to be in community with other people, other creators that get you, that understand where you're going. So when you post, you stay encouraged and you just keep digging deeper to grow a community, but also reach a wider and a broader audience. So I'm so pumped and honored to have shared this bit of time with you, just to impart some knowledge to help you get over that 1,000 subscriber threshold. And I was there. It took me over, I think it was like close to 1.5 or 2 years before I even got to 500 subscribers. And then when my channel took off, it just started taking off and it still continued to grow. And if there's one piece of advice that I could give you, just one last bit, learn and do. It's a philosophy that I teach and it's one that I live by. When you learn something new, go and execute on it. And so if you can just remember that and stay encouraged and know that what you're doing and making content about really does matter, you can begin to change people's lives like you've probably already had your life changed a little bit by Jessica. And hopefully this video gave you some value. So I'll hand it back over to my sis. And I appreciate you for inviting me on the channel. And I just want y'all to know you can do this.